Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I am here. I guess I'm leaning toward my adult chair with Michelle Chalfant.
I think you're leaning on it.
I'm leaning on it. I'm carrying it around behind me.
Yes.
We're going to, this question comes up, it comes up more often, maybe as often as you'd think, maybe more often than you'd think. It's this whole concept of what does life look like when you are in the adult chair, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Very excited about this conversation because it comes with it, just in our little pre-show conversation, some surprises that I think will strike people sideways, and you get to straighten them out. So before we dig in, head over to theadultchair.com to learn more about the show. You can subscribe for free. Just sign up for the mailing list there, and look for the link to the private Facebook group. We'd love to have you request to join that group.
I had no idea how much fun that group was going to be. At first I thought, oh my gosh, that's a lot of work and more work. It is so much fun because the people that are joining this closed group are people that really want to learn this, and they're vulnerable in this group. And I'm in there, I don't know what you word to use, coaching or helping, but so are other people as they learn. They're offering suggestions. It's so much fun. So for the people that really do want to learn more about the adult chair, please join us in this closed group. We're having an absolute ball. It's really fun. We're having a lot of fun.
That is awesome. And you can find that link right at michellechalfant.com. Just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the link where you can jump over to that group and request an invitation. And it's great. Love to see you there. And of course, you can also find us in the public group on the fan page. But the really fun stuff is happening in the private group and on Twitter as well. Okay. So you go through your work and you introduce people to the concept and concepts that surround the chair work, right? The child chair, adolescent chair, and adult chair. And I imagine this question becomes sort of aspirational, right? That as if we're kind of working towards something. Well, I certainly don't want to be in the child chair, and I definitely don't want to be in the adolescent chair. I want to be in the adult chair all the time. So you're here today to straighten us out on what that really means.
I am. I'm here to straighten you out, Pete.
Straighten me out. And I need it more than most, clearly.
I have been hearing from some people in the closed group, and even on the just the regular Facebook group or the fan page, when people comment and say, "Oh, I live in my adult chair all day," I really feel like I need to define this again. The adult chair, when we're sitting in our adult chair, we're seated in consciousness. It's that higher part of ourselves, the wise mind that's sitting in the human body. So it's a different energy, and we cannot sit there all day long. When people come and sit in front of me, or when I'm reading some of these posts, or in the closed group even, and someone might say, well, I was in my adult chair all day today until this evening when, my husband said this or my child said this. So I just want to clarify, that's impossible. We can't sit in consciousness all day long. What we do is we end up living and sitting in the adolescent chair, which is not a bad thing. So many people I've said to you in the past, want to blow that chair up. I'm like, no, we need that part of us. But we want to live there from a healed perspective. And one of the ways that we do that is bringing more consciousness into our adult, and then he or she can make more conscious choices from that adult chair perspective. I'm not sure if that made sense. Does that make sense?
Well, I think so. But I think it's really going back to this, I want to blow the adolescent chair up. Talk just a second about the baggage that comes with the adolescent chair and why we should look at the adolescent chair maybe a little bit more kindly. I
mean, here's what the problem is. As we're growing up, we have all these childhood wounds. Our childhood wounds, they typically happen age 0 to 6 or 0 to 10, let's say. So let me give you an example of what may happen. Let's say that you have a fight with your sibling. You and your sibling are fighting, let's say, and your sibling started it. And then your mom walks in, and your mom doesn't see that your sibling did anything and looks at you and says, "Get to your room. Why'd you hit your brother or sister? Blah, 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 blah." So automatically, then you have all this shame. It's like, what? I didn't, we say, well, I didn't do it. He did it or she did it. They started it. And your mother just says, just get to your room. So there are many messages that are sent to us when that happens, something like that happens. We have messages sent to us. My voice does not matter, so I'm not important. I don't matter. People don't believe me. I must be lying. All of these different messages can go through our brain and they get embedded in the brain.
Right.
And it happens because we're shamed. And of course, our parents don't walk around intentionally shaming us, or most of them don't. Some do, but most of them don't. So what happens is we have all these wounds in this child chair. All of that happens during this child part. And then we move into this adolescent chair, and the ego comes in and says, I'm going to make sure that does not happen again. I'm going to make sure that you don't get blamed for doing things that you didn't do. So what happens is that ego does this flip, and it says, okay, so let's hide that part of you that thinks it's so bad, and we bury it in the unconscious mind. So let's just say that it's the party that says I'm bad because my mother, sent me in my room, so I must be bad. So then the ego comes in and puts a mask on us and says, let's just be really good no matter what. So it does the opposite. So therefore, then we may become a neat freak. Our house is immaculate. We're perfectly dressed all the time. We do really well at work. So it drives us in that other direction. So it's not that it's bad. It's unconscious. It doesn't know what it's doing. And it's doing it because that adolescent part of us, remember, is based in ego, which is based in fear, is here to keep us alive. It's trying to keep us alive and not abandoned and not rejected. So it thinks it's doing the right thing. That's why we need consciousness to come in and say, wait a minute.
I don't need to be protected right now. My life isn't really in danger. There are no bears. And
yes. Yeah. And the thing that happens is from our adult chair, we then are able to say, wow, my house is immaculate. And I'm realizing that I'm getting headaches if it's not immaculate. Something there doesn't feel right to me. Let me investigate that further. From my adult, I can then check in with my inner child. I can sink into what I'm feeling. I find out that there's a part of me that feels bad. I then it's like pulling it out of, it's called shadow work. So it's like pulling it out of the back of the closet in this dark space. And when you look at it, you're giving it light, and that's what transforms it. And it's like, oh, yeah. So there is that part of me that thinks that I'm bad, but I'm also really good. And there's that healing then that happens because of that. So then we can embrace both. I'm bad and good. This whole work in the adult chair is not about fixing anything because none of us are broken. It's about creating wholeness. We're trying to bring all of our parts together and have them work together, and using that adult like the CEO of a company. So it's checking in with the child, checking in with the adolescent, and then choosing what to do from that chair.
Well, and that seems to be really the lesson, that it's kind of about permission too, right? That you have to give yourself permission. It's okay. You're not striving to live in the adult chair all day. You're striving to understand where you are and which chair you're in when you're in it.
Right. Because what happens is we're on autopilot a lot of time, most of the time in that adolescent chair. So even today. So today I got up and I let the dogs out. I got them food. I went and made myself breakfast. Walked into my office. I turned my laptop on. I sit down. I go through my email. So it's autopilot. Like I do it every day. It's the same thing every day. I check in, see who my clients are for the day, and it's the same thing. And it's different so it's not that I was in a bad place. I wasn't raging on anyone. I wasn't in a great mood. I was just kind of neutral. I was on autopilot. It's like cruise control. And what I notice is, as I'm sitting there drinking my smoothie, I'm not consciously drinking my smoothie. So I can sit and drink my smoothie as I'm going through emails and looking at clients for the day and all this stuff. Or I can sit, not be doing anything else, and enjoy every single gulp of that smoothie. And I can taste everything that's coming into my mouth and then swallow. It's like, that's consciousness. That's different. Same thing, taking a shower. How many of us, we take showers and we're not even thinking about what we're doing.
Right.
We're thinking about what we have to do that day. That's taking an unconscious shower versus, as you're if you're a woman and you're shaving your legs, it's like being really intentional and conscious about that. If you're a man and you're shaving in the shower, it's like you might be a little bit more conscious because you don't want to slice your throat. But
you don't want to, you don't want to bleed out on the floor.
Yeah, oftentimes, most of the time, I shower and I'm not even, I get out of the shower and the whole time I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about, in fact, I have a notebook in every room of my house because when I get podcast ideas or blog ideas or whatever ideas, I'm writing all the time. So
yeah,
I'm jumping out of the shower and writing everything down I thought of in the shower versus being really mindful in the shower. Consciousness is mindfulness. Adult chair is mindfulness. So what we want to do is we want to start adding more of this consciousness in throughout the day. Here's another great example. I just, right before the show, I sat down, I was hungry, and I'm like, I got to eat a salad. I'm going to make a quick salad before I get on the air. And then I'm doing this really extreme cleanse/detox where I'm just eating protein, like really healthy protein and vegetables and nothing else, and healthy fats. And I made a salad, and I used the romaine lettuce, and I put all these veggies and avocado and everything on top. And one thing that I've been longing for is crunching. I can't crunch except for celery.
Yeah. Oh, it's
I want
the worst.
a chip.
Yeah.
Give me a tortilla chip or something like that. And I sat down and I started inhaling the salad because I knew I had 15 minutes before I had to get on the air with you. And I was looking at my computer. I had my computer in front of me. I had my notes to my left, and then I'm eating the salad. And then I stopped and I said, wait a minute. I'm not even in my adult chair right now. And I'm doing a show about living in the adult chair. Yeah. So I closed my computer. I pushed my notes away and I sat mindfully and ate the salad. And I could not believe the crunch that I got from romaine lettuce leaves. And I normally don't eat that kind of lettuce, but today that's all I had. So I was like, I had no idea how crunchy this was. This is delicious. I was like really mindful. And I was like, every chomp down of my lettuce, I thought, this is amazing. Look how crunchy this is. Maybe I don't need chips. And my craving for chips was gone. And I think I've used this, I think one other show. I remember learning this model like years ago when I was using it. And I had walked home. I'd gotten home from, I don't remember, something had triggered me and I was really in a bad emotional place. But again, it was that unconscious place. I was just in a bad mood. Mm-hmm. And literally I found myself, because I don't even remember walking in the house, standing in my pantry, putting potato chips in my mouth. And I sat there and I said, wait a minute. Like it's like we wake up out of a dream when we leave the adolescent chair and we're awake in the adult chair. And I literally had a chip coming up to my mouth. And I said to myself, hold on a second, what chair am I in? And even saying that phrase is coming from our adult, and it snapped me awake out of that dream in my adult chair. And I said, oh my God, how did I get in the pantry? Like, so what? Like, how'd that happen? And I put the chips down. I said, I don't even want chips. What's going on? And then I was able to sit inside myself and say, okay, what's really going on? I was like, oh yeah, I wish I could remember. I don't recall what the feeling is, but I dropped inside myself, accessed that child part that is having the feelings, touched the feeling, got in touch with the feeling. And then guess what? There was no more need to eat the chips. It was gone. It's about accessing those feelings. You can only do that when you're in your adult.
That experience of just sort of emotional blackout, I really resonate with that. I've never actually heard anybody talk about it, and I thought it's like deja vu. Like, are you sure that deja vu doesn't only happen to me, right? But that happens all the time, especially when I'm driving, where my mind will wander, and it's not like I'm not paying attention to the road, but suddenly I wake up and I realize that I have been so distracted by the person who is driving next to me or whatever that suddenly I don't remember the last mile. Like, I couldn't tell you what happened over the last mile.
Yes, that happens to everybody. You're right.
That's that experience. Like, when I come back and I'm like, okay, I'm driving an automobile that weighs thousands of pounds, and I should be 100% present as I am doing this. And that's very much that experience.
Yeah, exactly. And that other part of our brain takes
Yeah.
over and away we go and we get
Yeah.
where we need to be and we wake
So
up
this
when we
is
need to wake up. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So this is very much, this is a guiding episode right here. We've talked a lot about the adult chair and what it means, but the adult chair is not something you strive to live in all the time. It's something you strive to understand. Is that a fair way to put it?
I would say that. Yeah, I would say kind of both. I mean, I really do try to live in it as much as possible, but yes, it is. It's an understanding. My goal is to live in it as much as possible and to just be awake. But we move so fast. So, that adolescent chair, the energy there is much faster. So we go from one thing to the next, and it's that adult that's slower and it's more measured and it's mindful and in the moment. We're just our human being as human beings are not. That's not who we are. I mean, just not made up, especially now in this day and age with cell phones and computers and iPads and Kindles and it's
Right.
everything distracts us.
Right. It's so easy to, in so many ways, it's so easy to let all these distractions, like we talk about, we can numb ourselves out with food and sex and gambling, whatever those things are. We're sort of numbing out when we allow ourselves to unintentionally drift from chair to chair.
Right. We just want to add mindfulness. We want to bring in consciousness. When we do things like mountain climbing and these extreme sports and even yoga, it brings us back into our body and into a mindful state. When we really have to concentrate, those are the best activities because we're bringing more energy into that chair. We're bringing and the more it's like a muscle. The more we use that chair, the more energy stays in that chair. So the more consciousness we bring in, the more consciousness is available to us. And then we can turn and continue to use that consciousness. But we have to pay attention. Are we being mindful or are we asleep and unconscious? And the other thing that happens, which I think is so cool, is in relationships, we find that we start seeing through, like I call it seeing through the illusion. It's seeing through what's really happening. If we're in an argument with someone, we can actually, when we're really connected to ourselves in consciousness again and bringing that mindfulness in, and I'm connected to myself, someone outside of me can be upset with me and I'm okay because I'm connected to myself. This happens with Graham when my husband gets mad at me. And if he gets mad at me, not that he gets mad at me hardly ever, but when he does, oftentimes, again, not every time, but oftentimes now, and I'm finding this is cool because it's happening more and more and more. The more I practice this, the more I'm able to catch what's going on. So if he's upset with me about something, I can see through it. And I sit here and I'm like, look at that. He's not upset with me. He's projecting on me. Like I can see it and it doesn't trigger me. That's how our triggers go away is we really start getting in touch with what is going on within ourselves and we can recognize what's happening with this other person isn't even mine.
Right.
When I say this to my clients, I'll say, we always say in the adult chair, you got to let it go, let it go, let it go. Well, people say, well, it's easier said than done. And I said to this girl the other day, and I said, if I tossed you a baseball that was on fire, would you catch it? She said, well, no, I would duck. I said, well, then do that when these people are saying this crap to you.
Turns out it's actually,
let it go.
Yeah, it's actually easier done than said. Go ahead, just duck. Yeah.
Duck. Like, stop taking it in. Like, don't let it land on you. Energy, it's either, when it comes at you, your intention can, steer it away. You don't have to accept it. Let it go.
Right.
Like, really, our passion, a lot of people don't know what their passion or their mission is. When we're connected to the higher self and then the seat of consciousness in the adult chair, we start getting ideas. Our intuition opens up. We become more open or mindful of, or even getting intuitive hits about things that we might like to do. And from our adult chair, we start following it. And what do you know? We start understanding what that passion is inside of us, the thing that we're meant to do while we're here on this planet. We really learn who we are when we bring consciousness in, because the more conscious we are, the more awake we are, the more cues we're able to notice and catch as they happen throughout the day. And it opens us up on so many levels. But again, throughout the day, typically, unless we're mindful of where we are sitting, we are not in that adult chair. And again, we can be sitting home watching a movie and life is great, but it doesn't mean we're in the adult, because are we consciously, are you, texting somebody as you're watching the movie? It's like, how in your body are you, when you're doing these things?
Do you remember the old movie, Joe versus the Volcano? Tom Hanks.
Oh, I know. I remember the name of it. I don't know if I ever watched it.
Well, critics agree it's one of the best movies ever made. And the first...
Critics agree with you.
Critics agree with me. It's one of the best movies ever made. The general public might not have voted with their dollars quite the way I did, but it's a fantastic film, and it opens with exactly that. And I think it's one of these great metaphors where you have this guy who goes to this dead-end job, and he is literally physically sick until he is told that until he faces this jarring kind of life-shaking awakening. And once he is woke, everything changes, and he is able to see so much more clearly. I think about that all the time in those little experiences, like when somebody's mad at me or when I get angry comments from people on the internet who don't know me and they just are mad and they want to troll. I think about that moment. Like they're going to have their awakening at some point, and I need to just leave them with crickets. I'll be that vessel, and I'm not going to engage because I have found it's okay for me right now to be in my adult chair and not have to, and not have to, gird for war.
And you don't have to catch the baseball fire. The baseball that's on fire.
I don't have to catch I can duck. I can duck.
Duck.
Yeah, that's
duck. Move over. Here's one key that might throw some people. Don't let it throw you.
Okay.
That you remember in the adolescent chair we wear masks, so we cover up our true self in the adolescent chair, so we can wear the mask of the adult. How's that for a bomb?
Oh, see, that's a brain bender.
How's that for confusing everybody?
Right. That's like advanced adult chair. I wasn't ready for that.
So our adolescent, because again, it wears the masks, can be wear the mask of the adult. And so a lot of people will say to me, "Oh, I'm in my adult." I'm like, "Really?
Oh.
What are you feeling?" Like, so what are you feeling right now? And they go, what? So that's one way to kind of bust that adolescent is to ask yourself, hold on. Well, let me connect to my feelings. Cause the only time I do that is, of course, when I'm in my adult, it's the only part that will connect into that child. Then we know we're back in the true adult chair. We know what we're feeling. The energy, the other thing that the indicator of when you're in your adult is the energy. Even when we're upset, remember, the adult chair is not airy-fairy. I can get really mad. I can set a boundary here. But the energy with how I do that is it's always, it's a calmer energy. It's not so frenetic. And the energy in the adolescent is fast-moving and frenetic. So it's a very different energy. So it's like tuning into the body, going, hold on, what state am I in? How do I feel? So it's a lot about how we feel, and that's how we will know where we are and what chair we're in.
I love it. This is great stuff, and a great reset. If you've been wondering or wandering in your learnings of the adult chair, hopefully this helps you find a little bit of focus and permission to think about these things a little bit differently. Thank you so much, Michelle Chalfant.
Thank you.
On behalf of Michelle, I'm Pete Wright, and we will catch you right here next week, sitting firmly in the adult chair.